Alright guys, as we have the rest of the cards revealed to us right now, I'll go through the remaining of the different classes and we'll start off with the Druid. So all the cards I haven't reviewed for Druid just yet, I'll go through that and give them a star rating, evaluate how it fits with the different cards that we've seen, which kind of decks might we expect, and so on and so forth. So let's head on into the card review. Okay, first up for Druid, we need to talk about Overflow as a rather fundamental card for the Druid class coming up. The card in itself is a 7 mana spell which restores 5 health to all characters. This means that it's not only you and your minions, but also your opponent's minions and your opponent. So everyone gets 5 health. And on top of that, you draw 5 cards. So it's kind of a refill tool and a board steady state tool for Druid. And I think this is going to be really powerful. Thoughts come to mind with a Druid 10 mana spell that's not in rotation anymore of Ultimate Infestation. Ultimate Infestation saw a lot of play and did definitely some more things. It targeted 5 damage, gave you 5 armor, gave you a 5/5 minion on board, and drew you 5 cards. So definitely a very powerful tool. But I think this is still powerful enough and will drive a new Druid archetype, which is something we might not know the power level of, but definitely this is a stable card that might drive this into it, a higher tier. And we won't know exactly yet because right now it's the token Druid archetype which is in rotation, and that might still be good, but you still see right now the Lucent Bard in play, and therefore you have a good chance of developing that into some kind of deck where this is actually a spell that makes sense. So definitely a card to keep an eye out for, and I think this is definitely something that will drive this. Therefore, I rated 5 stars for the constructed play mode. And in Arena, you can't construct a deck in the same way that allows you to disregard your opponent's board or your opponent's health just in a way in the same way as you can in the constructed. Therefore, I still think it's a powerful card. You have just to be really careful about how you do the trades. You might want to do an overflow midway through your turn and heal some of your minions before they attack into your opponent's board, stuff like that. So it's a bit more consideration maybe going into that part, but still having a 7 mana reload towards the late game, that's really powerful. So for instance, a card that you don't mind running for a late game card in, for instance, Rogue is the 7 mana Sprint, which give you 4 cards, and this is a potential for having even more upside. I could even see this card with the power level that I expect it will have to be a candidate for maybe some nerfs if that Druid deck ends up taking over, and the synergies between this spell and other cards that we'll review over the course of the remaining of this session. We will need to see, but it might be a card that is kept an eye out on because it could potentially really drive this archetype. And again, in Arena, it's just a really solid card, and I give it 4 stars. It's an amazing card in both play modes. Next up, we'll be talking about the Garden Gnome. The card in itself is a 4 mana minion. Has the stat line of 2/3, so not a really good stat line for 4 mana, but has the battle cry of summoning 2/2/2 treants. A treant looks like this, and it's just a 2 mana 2/2 minion. If you hold a spell that costs 5 or more, so it's not just any spell, it is more expensive spells, like for instance Overflow we just went through. Just at a short glance through the this spell repertoire of the Druid, we have like maybe 5 or 6 potential viable, semi-viable spells. So therefore, there's not a lot of different spells in the pool right now, which allows you to do this. Nonetheless, I think the card could potentially be strong enough in a deck where you play into having high cost spells. Therefore, there's a potential there. In constructed, I think you might want to be playing something else. I'm not sure, but I think there's some potential, and it gets some support. So it's a card you might see. I give it 3 stars in constructed. Summoning for 4 mana that you summon 6-7 worth of stats distributed along 3 different bodies. That's quite okay. That's actually quite good. And the Treant synergy also, it's also something that's still there in the Druid class, that whenever you have a Treant, then you might generate a spell, or that you can transform your Treants into 5/5 minions, stuff like that. So there's still something there that kind of works for this card. If it's strong enough to be in a really high archetype, a tier 1 deck, a competitive deck, not so sure. But it's definitely there, and it's powerful enough when you can construct the deck. Looking towards Arena, then, you're not guaranteed to get any of the 5 mana spells. Some of them are maybe even rather bad in Arena. And again, you're not offered that many spells. It's more minion based, and you might want to be inclined to get more minions. Spells are good in Arena, but you also want to make sure that you have your minions, maybe your initiative minions. And even though this is a battle cry, you won't be sitting on that high mana spell because you build in a lot of synergies in your draft. It's going to be really bad. A 4 mana 2/3, that's what you can expect out of this in Arena. And a 4 mana 2/3 does not cut it. You cannot present what resembles a 2-drop on turn 4 and still hope to win a game in Arena. It's really bad. Do not draft it. Again, if you have the deck for it, you have those 5, 6, 5 mana plus spells. It's a different story. So be mindful, but as a card standalone, it's not good in Arena. Alright, we have a really interesting, and what I expect is a really strong card for Druid. Specifically on the constructed side for the quest. The minion in itself is a 2 mana 1/4 stat line. So a very sturdy minion, not something that has a huge board impact, but has a very high chance, at least also in the early game, to stick around. There's not a lot of things that deals 4 damage, unless you're against a really aggressive deck. There's no spells on turn 2 in rotation at the moment which will deal 4 damage. Other than Spirit Bomb for Warlock is the only one I can think of, and right now that's not run as a stable in any deck. It might be, who knows, but there's not a lot of options to deal with this other than powered the power word, powered pain for priest, and then the Spirit Bomb. Other than that, there's not that many strong answers to this. And even if your opponent has the potential to present an answer for this, if you drop this on turn 3, or you do a turn 2 play and then coin and draw a card, then you will already draw a card towards the end of the turn. So the turn that this one comes down, you have a good chance. You can assess the board. Maybe you have a chance to survive for 2 turns. Then you draw 2 cards, and therefore having a 2, usually you say 2 mana, maybe even a 1/1 novice engineer. Right now, a 2 mana 1/1 is run in competitive viable decks, and that's a battle cry that just draws you 1 card. That is run already at the moment. So this is a 2-mana 1/4 that when you drop it, you'll probably guarantee that it can draw at least one card, but has the upside, the potential to draw even more. Therefore, it is really powerful. In Constructed, at least, where you can construct your deck in such a manner that you will support the quest mechanic in a way that you draw your answers, you have options on hand, and you have cards that when you realize the quest, the unspent mana quest for Druid, then you have a bunch of answers. You have all the cards that you need to get back in the game, even though you will. So the essentially you could look at it this way. That's how I thought about it. You're not spending a mana to put on the board, but essentially with this card, you're putting 1 mana into drawing a card, and 1 mana draw a card. That's insanely good, and you're not even paying another card to do this. That's a really powerful effect, and therefore this deserves 4 stars in Arena. Not in Arena, in Constructed. In Arena, it's a little bit less. I give it 3 stars there because it's the stat line for it. It's not really a solid turn 2 drop. It's okay. You can drop it and then eventually, but generally a little bit more in Arena where you don't have the quest. You don't really want to drop this on turn 2 and then skip other turns where you don't have mana to spend and so on. It's a little bit more of a late game card, a refill card in the later stages of the game. You might just survive 1 turn towards the end, but again that you can draw into some more stuff towards the later stages where you might want to refill your hand just a little bit, then that's really powerful. If you and your opponent are in a top deck situation, then that you draw 2 cards in each and every turn where your opponent draws 1, that's a really, really powerful thing. That's a good card, definitely. Maybe not just an uncurved play for turn 2. Then it's probably not, because you really want to spend your mana in Arena. But strong enough, you're not sad about picking this, and just use it correctly. Then this is really going to be a good card in Arena as well. So there I give it 3 stars. The next card we have is called Oasis Surger, and I think this is again. It seems like the quest mechanic for Druid is it's going to be powerful the way I see it. And if it's powerful enough, this is going to be a staple in that specific deck. Oasis Surger is a 5 mana minion with Rush and a 3/3 stat line. And then it's a choose effect. So they can either choose to give it +2/+2 or summon a copy of the minion. So either for 5 mana, you get 6/6 worth of stats distributed along 2 bodies, a 3/3 with Rush and another 3/3 also with Rush, of course, or a 5 mana 5/5 that lets you remove something specifically on board, a single target removal. So that's that potential that you have with these 2 are really powerful. So if you play this with untapped potential, by the way, I got this confirmed on the live stream, the reveal stream at Blizzard HQ. You summon 2 5/5 Oasis Surges with Rush once you finalized your quest. So just imagine that for 5 mana you get 10 worth of stats that lets you affect the board right away. That's insane. That's really something that pushes this archetype into a very high level. And if you are on coin, then you can float the mana on each and every turn, on turn 1 even. So on turn 5, if you let the mana, if you go with unspent mana from turn to turn, on turn 5, there's a potential to realize the Oasis Surger. That's just crazy. That's amazing. Um, so, if it ends up being something, which it does seem like there's a potential for it, it is good, and just on its own, without the unspent mana quest, it's still a good card. That's why if we look over to the arena, even with no quest there, having this choice mechanic that you can single target remove or you can distribute it along two different targets, that's so powerful in the arena, and therefore it's also, but for a different reason, not for the complete crazy upside that I just mentioned, but just for the potential to have a broader effect on the board or a narrow effect on the board, that you have this option in one card specifically. That's really powerful. Um, so it's a 4-star on both sides, both for constructed and for arena. This is an elemental we will definitely see, and the elemental tag in arena is not bad. The Ongoro expansion is going to be part of the first rotation in arena, and their elementals really were a thing, and the synergies between the elementals were also something. Even though Druid did not have a lot of elementals, you will still see potential elemental synergies with some of the other sets that are in rotation at that point in time. A strong card, you will see it. You will see it. You will get to experience this if you're playing Druid or if you are playing against Druid. This is one to watch out for in both play modes. Next up, we have a 1-mana spell for Druid as well, of course, which lets you discover a choose one card. The pool for choose one cards has been expanded somewhat with this expansion, and there are definitely some options here. The Worthy Expedition, just a short word on Discover. Discover presents you 3 cards, and then you choose the one which suits your purpose the best. There's the reason I do. It supports the game plan around the choose effects, the untapped potential quest for Druid. All this kind of supports the Worthy Expedition game plan. The reason why I do not rate the card higher, and I might be wrong, but the reason why I do not rate it higher is why not instead of a card that might let you discover a choose one card, you just run the card in the deck. So that's kind of the idea behind it in my mind. It might be good enough that you have this 1-mana card that lets you discover the one that you need when you get to a certain point in the game, and then you still float a mana, for instance, on turn 2. Then Worthy Expedition might be good enough to run. It's a little bit difficult to assess. I think it's more of an average card that on fringe cases, or if you don't have all the cards, yes, then you would run Worthy Expedition in order for you to maybe discover the card that you do not have in your collection. And that might still drive some wins out of that specific deck. I just think that you will, if you have enough cards in the if you can just choose whatever cards you want to run in the Quest Druid deck, then you just run that instead of the Worthy Expedition. The only thing is going to be it's still a good card. Discover effects are really good, but only 3 stars in constructed. Having this effect on the other side, that you can narrow it down to some specific cards in arena, which are historically really powerful. And also the cards that we've seen in this expansion are really powerful in arena. Then I think that this card generation, for just 1 mana to get a card that is not even part of your deck, that you just generate specifically, that's really powerful. A very powerful effect that you don't mind taking up a card slot in the deck that you are drafting. So I think this is going to be a really significant and very, very powerful card in arena, and there I give it 4 stars. This next minion blows my mind completely. A Nubisath Defender, a 5-mana 3/5 minion. So on the stat side, not an impressive one, but there's more to it. Also, why you can see that I rate this 5 stars. It's a taunt, also good, and it costs 0 if you cast a spell that costs 5 or more this turn. And then we have to think back to the overflow card. Just drawing a bunch of cards, you might be sitting with 5 cards in hand, and then you draw 5 more, and then with a 7 mana play, you draw the 5 cards, you refill your hand, and then you play 2, 3, 5 minions to stabilize on the board even more than what you have already. That's just such an insane combo for Druid. So you drop 2, 3, 5 minions, you draw 5 cards, you heal your board, you heal yourself. One thinks about Arcane Tyrants. That was a card that's out of rotation for the standard play mode right now. That was a 5 mana 4/4 that cost 0 if you played a spell that cost 5 or more. That was a staple in Druid decks, really a staple, and a 5 mana 4/4 with no additional stats. It didn't have taunt or anything, and for a taunt minion to have this 5 health, which then that's even stronger on that specific minion than you would have on a 4/4. There are awkward things for other classes to deal with this. Of course, there are more answers right now, but for instance, a Flame Strike does not cut it against these two. Even if you Flame Strike and then ping, you're still left with a single Anubisath defender on the board. If you manage to draw both, this is really powerful. Just having cards with the potential of cheating out, if you say this was a 4 mana card, but cheating out for 4 mana or the full 5 mana cost this one has by doing something else. A 0 mana card, that's really crazy. When you can mana cheat in Hearthstone, then that is really powerful. Therefore, this is going to be a really powerful card. 5 stars, definitely. It's going to be a staple in a lot of Druid decks. Also because we will be seeing overflowing no matter what I see, you will have some kind of spell for the most part in Druid that will allow you to run this. There would be some argumentation for doing this, even if you just look at the current token Druid. You would drop the Forest 8 for 8 mana, fill the board with 5 2/2s, 3 ants, and then you just drop 2 Anubisath defenders as well. So why not? You fill your board up completely with a bunch of stats. I think this is a very powerful card that will be a 100% stable in Druid decks. Very powerful card. In Arena, yes, yeah, that will be the case where you have the 5+ spell card. Again, spells are not that common in Arena, and you might not sit with it in hand, or you will not be able to construct a deck around this. I do not think it's going to be strong there. You just have to consider the 5 mana 3/5 taunt stat line, and then that's not going to be strong enough. And taunt, there'll be a bunch of taunts reintroduced with Ungoro, which is probably going to be strong enough, and therefore this is not at the top shelf on the different from the arsenal that Druid will have available in Arena. Therefore, be really cautious about this. Don't pick it because it's enticing that you have this one spell in your deck that allows you to drop the Anubisath Defender for 0 mana. Likely you will not be able to make that combo work consistently, and be really cautious about this. This is a potential trap card for Arena, and not strong there. I only rated 2 stars for Arena. Next up, we have a 6 mana spell for Druid. It's a choose one effect as well. And it lets you choose between summoning a 6/6 Ancient with Taunt, a 6/6 minion with Taunt, or restore 12 health. This again was with a lot of the other cards that's been presented for Druid, really supports the quest Druid, and it's actually a quite good on curve play, because on turn 6 there's a good chance that you finish your quest no matter if you're on the coin or not, and being able to drop because both effects out of the spell will be realized, so both dropping a 6/6 ancient, and maybe if you're against an aggressive deck, then you're already taking some face damage, for healing your hero up with 12 health. It's in many situations where the aggressive deck is going to say, okay, well, there I lost. I just didn't manage to get there before turn 6. Some aggressive decks might be able to do so, but you will still be presenting some threats. You'll be able to manage the board just a little bit on turn 6. That's not unrealistic that this is going to be something that allows you to stabilize against the more aggressive decks. And the aggressive decks are going to be right throughout the start of the next expansion. That's usually how it is. The combo, the control, the mid range, these kind of decks needs a little bit more time to refine, whereas the Zoo kind of playstyle and the aggressive decks, they end up having a rather refined list rather quickly, and this will address this challenge, because when you're up against all these aggressive decks, I think this is going to be really good, and I give it 4 stars in the constructed play mode. It really seems to support that game plan rather perfectly. Yeah, so so that's one thing. In Arena, I give it a little bit less, because the usually choose one effects are really good in Arena. Just choosing between one or the other, it's going to be against a solid choice. A 6 mana 6/6 with Taunt is perfectly viable on turn 6 and a good enough play. But healing, it's not that common in Arena, and it's maybe not that necessary. It might just be towards when you have the board control that the healing might matter. Sometimes you might even want to heal a minion instead of healing your own face when you get to that point in time, if you even want to use the heal effect out of the card, and therefore, and there you will most likely waste a lot of the health heal for this card specifically. So therefore, the only kind of viable choice for the card in Arena would be to go for the 6/6 Ancient Taunt. The other effect is kind of not relevant, or in most cases will not be relevant. Of course, there's the fringe case where you need to heal in order to be able to stabilize, because you have your opponent is out of cards or whatever might be the case, but they might be able to present lethal over a turn or two. There's fine, but when it's more of a fringe case, the usual case for the card would be to present the taunt to be put in the way of your opponent's minions. It's okay, not a great card, but it's going to be okay in Arena. That will compare contingent of which cards will be up against in which bucket. It might be a good pick or a never pick. We'll need to see how the buckets are realized when we get to the Arena introduction. It's a 3-star rating in Arena for Hidden Oasis. And then the final card that we haven't reviewed yet is a card that I'm probably going to be wrong with, because I think the effect that Elise has is really powerful. So Elise is a 5 mana 5/5, which has a battle cry, the sound enough stat line, which has a battle cry. If your deck has no duplicates, meaning that you only have one specific card left in the deck, you can run duplicates, but you need to have only one duplicate left at the point of time that you play Elise. If you have that as you play her, you will duplicate your hand, meaning that you need to have kind of cuts. If you want to have the full effect out of Elise, you need to have only 5 cards in hand, because that would be duplicated into 10. In this case, if you really want to have 2 specific cards of anything, you can just as well run them. So the use case for Elise will be that you would want to run 2 copies of something in your deck and then duplicate that into 4 copies for like a finishing combo move, or that you want to have a legendary which you want to duplicate and have 2 legendaries. Yeah, this, there will probably be something I'm missing with this, or it might be that Elise is going to be good in the next expansion. It is a little bit on faith that I kind of give her the 3 stars. It might be something that we try out, but it's probably not going to be good enough. I can't see specific things that you want to combo in this way. But having this effect where you can generate cards which violate what you can usually do, generating, like I mentioned, the second legendary, or that you draw enough through the deck that you sit with the 2 copies in hand for a specific finishing combo, yes, then Elise is something that allows you to not break the game, but do something that is completely out of order of what you can typically do with any other card in the game. And therefore, I think she will find a spot. She will be played at least something, and she will also find maybe a meme deck, like something that people will try out, and it might even be viable. If you look at if you look at Wild, you would be able to run 2 Naturalizes, which is a 1 mana spell that destroys a minion and gets your opponent to draw 2 cards. If you have like 4 of these, then you can really mill your opponent into oblivion. Then there might be some kind of use case with the cards that we have out of rotation at the moment. But I'm doing this evaluation for the current constructed meta for standard, meaning all the cards that we have this year and last year's cards. And right now I don't see a specific fit for her. But we need to keep an eye out. We need to figure out if there's a potential combo somewhere there that I'm missing. If you see something obvious, post it in the comments. It'll be great for me to go like, wait a minute, why didn't I see that? But right now I don't see it. Heading on over to Arena, I won't use too much time for it. You won't see legendaries all that much. Don't expect the battle cry to have any effect in Arena. Just consider her as a 5 mana 5/5, and that's perfectly fine. It's an okay card in Arena. If the battle cry works, that's good enough. But don't expect to make a deck in Arena that doesn't have any duplicates. You really not want to restrict yourself in such a way that you will make sure that her battle cry works. So therefore, don't expect it to. But other than that, her stat line is not suffering in any way. So she's a fine minion to drop on turn 5. So an okay card. Not something great, but an okay Arena card. Alright guys, so that sums it up. And some amazing, fantastic cards for Druid. It's going to be really interesting to see what Druid is going to be in this coming expansion, just up in a few days. It is there's some interesting potential archetypes out there, and it seems like from the stuff we've seen so far that there will be some, after a refining period, we will be able to potentially see some new Druid decks. But let's see if in the coming months, if that's actually true, or if we will stay true to a token playstyle. Time will tell, and we'll see how this actually fares in the coming expansion.